a Pete Primeau fan.
Thank you for having me.
Your fans are like...
What an honor to be here, Pete. You're a legend. You're a rock star.
I'm a legend in my own mind, said my wife.
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
I'm Mr. Selling from the Heart. What's this guy, Larry Levine, going to teach me about selling from the heart?
You are one of the most generous and authentic people around. And I think that's why you and your show are so attractive to people.
Welcome to the Pete Primeau Show. It is episode 276, and hopefully Meridith will be here shortly. If not, my amazing, super talented producer, Chris Stone, will be joining us, and we are going to be talking about thriving in uncertainty. What a great topic for today. But before we do that, let's pay the bills really, really quickly. If you haven't bought my book, Sell a Million, and you're looking to get more door swings and increase your profitability, this is a great book for you. My dear friend Doug Stewart gave me the best compliment. Take the word furniture or mattress out of the book. It's just a great business and marketing book. If you want a sales book, we have one of those for you. Miles and Miles of Retail Selling Greatness. This basically documents 43 years of what I've learned in the industry, plus Scott Vaughn, Mark Klingenberg, Brent Batterman, Justin Trumbo, Jeff Giannakovo, Chris Tahaney, Randy Thompson, Steve Carnes, Mel Opp, and Keith Cassinguy all contributed chapters to this book. So it's really not my book. It's our book collectively. If you're a sales manager and you're responsible for putting on a weekly sales meeting, this book will give you 3 years of sales meetings for under $20. So you can't beat that. If you buy either book and there are questions that you have, pick up the phone and call me. My cell number is 419-560-3169. Always happy to talk to you, and absolutely at no charge. So there's no, you don't have to pay me to talk to me, to ask me a few questions about either one of my books. My absolute pleasure to help you implement anything in either of those books. So, we're going to lead off with Mattress RSAs. This is a project that is near and dear to my heart. Chris Tahaney is leading the charge on this one. We are trying to put together a book that shows great outcomes that consumers achieve by purchasing your products with your sales process. And if you have a sales pro who has changed the life of one of their customers, and that story should be in this book, email that story to Mattress RSA Stories. Mattress RSA Stories at gmail.com. If you're not a great writer, Chris will polish it up. He'll send it back to you for your approval, and away you go. So get behind this. Don't be shy. I know sometimes it's kind of hard to put yourself out there. If you've got a superstar RSA sales pro who is just not going to send a story in no matter what, you as the business owner, you are 100% within your rights to send it in on their behalf. And you should do that. You should make each and every one of your sales pros superstars within the industry. That would be a great thing for our industry. So thank you, Chris, for that. And I want to thank my friends, Steve and Greg, for sponsoring the Pete Primeau Show. Join the Mattress Industry Network group. If you want to learn how to build, market, sell, and succeed in the mattress business, there's not a better place to be, and it's free. So all you got to do is hit that QR code, and you're going to be plugged into a group. Over 3,200 people are in this group. A lot of little stores, a lot of big stores, a lot of in-between stores. Everybody's in here, from sales pros that work the retail floors, lots and lots of store owners, lots of owners of manufacturing companies, lots of VPs of sales and sales reps. Everybody's in here. So come on in, and you don't have to be in business alone. A lot of times as store owners, we feel like we're in business all by ourselves and we don't really know who to talk to. Come on into this group. It will help you dramatically. And if you're serious about transforming your mattress business, join Mattress Retailer Toolkit. It is an absolutely phenomenal group. I think it's less than $100 a month. They deliver literally thousands of dollars of value between Mike Capuzzi and Jeff Giannakovo. There are monthly trainings. It is for everybody. So whether you're an industry influencer, a single store owner, a multi-store owner, a furniture retailer, an industry leader, or factory reps, you're all invited to come on into this group and give yourselves the benefit of Jeff's vast knowledge and Mike Capuzzi's vast knowledge, one of the best marketers ever. So hit that QR code and join us at Mattress Retailer Toolkit. I am in there. I am a member, and I learn things every month. So without a further ado, Chris, is it going to be you or is it going to be Meridith? Hey, Meridith.
Hey, how are you?
That was amazing timing.
Well, I've actually been back there listening to all your information. I'm excited to join the groups.
Well, I am super happy that you're here. Congratulations on your book, Thrive. It's such a great book. From time to time, people will put comments in, and I am like Anchorman. Whatever's on the screen, I will read it. So, Chris, why don't you pop that back up so I can get this out of the way? Becky Woolman says, amazing books, both of them. So much knowledge from the best of the best people out there. Thank you, Becky. I thought we had an all-star team on that one. Andrew Burt. Good morning, Pete. Looking forward to today's show. Hate that Jordan and I missed you at High Point Market. I hate that too. I was in and out super quick. Always like to say hi to my friends. And I am super excited about some of the things that I'm hearing you doing, Andrew. You and Jordan are lighting it up. So keep that fire burning brightly, my friend. Meridith, you hit this ball out of the park, and it wasn't just a home run. It was a grand slam home run, because today the bases are loaded more than ever. And I know that the origination of the book started just before COVID. Is that right?
Yeah, the origination of the book actually started in 2016 when I was talking to clients, just like we as professionals do, and everybody was saying the same thing. I'm having my best year on record because the economy was so hot in 2016. But right after that, they would say, but oh, this uncertainty. And I just started to think, why does uncertainty always have to be a negative? And why do we not see it as opportunity? So that's kind of where I started with the origin of the book.
And it seems like simple, but I'm gonna own up to everybody here. I feel like I'm going into the confessional. When COVID hit, I freaked out. Mm-hmm. Internally, I freaked out. I thought all of my customers who are store owners are going out of business, and they're going to go out of business. My manufacturers are going to go out of business, and I'm going to go out of business. And I kept this kind of internally. And then I made a decision that, you know what, Lord, you dealt these cards, I'll play them. And I think that is, and I love that you start off with that fundamental mindset shift that we have to make about uncertainty. And if we don't make it, we are nothing more than a yo-yo who happens to own a business, right?
Absolutely. I think, one of the most fascinating things that I learned from the research is that success is not logical. When I started looking for companies that had grown through some of our most tumultuous times, because the truth is, the world kind of blows up every 25 to 50 years. And so I just started to think, were there companies out there who had grown, not just made it through, but actually grown through really challenging times? And I was able to uncover 9 companies that have been around for over 250 years. That means they've grown through world wars, economic depression, not one pandemic, but 2 pandemics, not survived it, actually grown through it when most of their competitors disappeared. Now, when I first started studying companies, when I went out to look for research, the companies that I would have chosen to have made it, I would have been wrong, because success is not logical. You don't succeed because you have the most investors. You don't succeed because you have the best location. You don't succeed because you have the best product. You succeed. The fundamental part of success is you have the right mindset. Because if you don't have the right mindset, like what happened to you at the beginning of COVID, was your mind was functioning from a place of fear. And the research on that is fascinating, that if you are afraid, you literally move to the side of your brain that shuts down innovation, shuts down creativity, and shuts down engagement. You need to be functioning from the part of your brain, which is where you just said, Lord, you dealt these cards, here we go. You literally move to the other side of your brain, and that part of your brain finds opportunity even when the obstacles look insurmountable.
Yep. We all learned how to use Zoom really well, didn't we, Meredith?
And really fast.
And anybody that has not read the summary of Meredith, she's a Hall of Fame speaker. She's an author. She is a business guru, and she literally went from being fully booked to out of business during COVID. And so you had already started this kind of mindset shift. And one of my favorite chapters is chapter 3, Condition Yourself for Change.
Yeah.
Had you benefited from some of the research that you had done when you started? I mean, you found yourself in a crazy situation just like I did.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about, what I do for a living is that I not only lost my revenue, but I lost my ability to earn revenue, because as a keynote speaker, you get on planes, you travel around the world, and you need people to get together. So it was at that time the only way to sell the product. So heck no, Pete, I hadn't benefited from my product, because just like every other expert out there, I was writing this to help other people, thinking I didn't have to do this stuff. And but I just and so technically I didn't even know, other than the fact that it was based on research, I didn't know if it worked. But, I had my back up against the wall, and I was like, well, I'm going to have to drink my own Kool-Aid. Let me just try this formula out. And lo and behold, I wound up with my best year on record when at that time, when most of my competitors, most of my colleagues were not even able to earn a dime. They were spending all their time applying for grants and things like that. And I'm like, I don't have time for that. I need to put the formula into place. So COVID really helped me refine it. But I got to tell you, I thought COVID would be the height of uncertainty we would see. And COVID almost looks easy to navigate compared to what we're going through now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the world has become a roller coaster, literally, with all kinds of things going on. So let's jump into it. And everybody that's watching and listening, guys, this is live right now. So if you're watching, at noon Eastern, David Grange, you're right. Evolve or die. And we're going to talk about that. Hey, Patrick, thank you for being here, my friend. Greetings from Bancroft, Canada. Patrick Tinney is a great author in his own right, 4 great books. And thank you for being here, Patrick. So let's start to unpack oh, Lord have mercy. Chris, thank you for being here. I'm sorry I said Lord have mercy when I saw your comment, but it was
said
so
in a
long,
good way,
my friend. Hi there. Great guest as always, Pete. Question for Meridith. All right. I love this. Thank you, Chris. I'll give you the money later. A lot of businesses say they want to grow, but when things get uncertain, they instinctively pull back. In your experience, what's the difference between companies that use uncertainty to gain market share and the ones that retreat and lose ground? Wow. You just cut to the heart of the whole thing, Chris.
Yeah,
Meridith, have at it.
Yeah, such a great question. I'd really narrow it down to one thing, and Pete just said it. They condition themselves for change. And what do I mean by that? Is that I always ask my audiences, I say, how many of you believe if we came right back in here this time next year, everything would be exactly the same? And nobody raises their hand. And I always say, well, if I told you to go to the bathroom and come back in here, you don't think things would be the same. So if you know change is coming, why aren't you getting ready for that change? So Chris, the difference between companies that say they want to grow and those that leverage uncertainty is those that leverage uncertainty are constantly asking themselves the questions: how is the marketplace changing? How are competitors changing? How is technology changing? How are politics changing? What, if any of those changes, do we need to be getting ready for right now? Like with the companies that I work with, we talk a lot about politics, because if there's a shift in the midterms, my companies are going to be impacted, and we need to think about that. If the strait opens up, it's going to mean one thing for the company. If the strait does not open up, it'll mean something else. How is AI going to transform? So I would say, if I narrowed it down to one thing, those that leverage uncertainty expect uncertainty. Those that don't, wait for uncertainty to happen.
Thank you for unpacking Chris's question. This is the straight out of Meridith's book. Uncertainty is not a threat. It's your greatest opportunity for growth and competitive advantage. That is the very beginning of where we have to get. We have to accept uncertainty as the new normal. And that might be a little uncomfortable for you, but you as a business owner, you owe it to everybody that depends on this business: your family, your employees, and your future family and your future employees, to accept uncertainty as the new normal. What would you add to that?
I would just say that, I find so much comfort in history. And one of the things that I did in the beginning of the book was I put a timeline. And the timeline is just all the incredible advancements that we have seen because of uncertainty. You look at something like a world war, and it was through that we found penicillin. Like, there's such good in the face of uncertainty. The other is, in order to succeed in uncertainty, in order to guarantee you will be successful in the face of uncertainty, you only need one thing. And that one thing is what you control. And that is what you focus on. If you focus on all the reasons you are not going to be successful, your mind will find more reasons to validate that. If you focus on the opportunity, your mind will find opportunity in the face of it. And that's just fact based on research and companies that have seen far bigger challenges than you have ever seen.
Yeah, it's when we go through history, you think about, my Lord, thank you, Milford.
Thanks, Milford.
Beagle says, this is great. Thank you. Thank you, sir. When we go through history, it's super humbling, right, Meridith?
Yes.
Like, these people were incredible. Like, we come from people that really overcame some really serious stuff, like huge 2 world wars.
Yeah, I mean, imagine having a business when what you do for a living for the next 10 years, you don't even know if your way of life is going to be here. But you have to understand this is why capturing your mindset is so important. And when I talk about capturing your mindset, please don't think you just cast a vision and forget about it. You know, you're in my office in Asheville right now, and in my desk drawer right now, I could pull it out, is my vision. It's where I see my life. It's where I see my business, my health, my finances, my relationships 1 year from now. I read it in the morning, I read it at lunch, and I read it again before I shut my office down at night, because I am conditioning my mind to find opportunity, because my mind goes to the negative all day. I lose a job. Something doesn't really work as well as I want it to work, then my mind goes down that rabbit hole. So I'm pulling my mind back to the positive. But when the Civil War broke out, Brooks Brothers was making men's suits. That was their entire business, suits for men. Not a single man in the United States of America was going to work during the Civil War. They all went to war. So they could have been out of business, but what they did was they leveraged relationships, and they got an opportunity to contract with the Union Army. And for the next 4.5 years, they made all the uniforms for the Union Army. Therefore, not only making it through the Civil War, but actually growing through the Civil War.
That's a great point. So after we make this mindset shift, creating a clear vision, which you went through, and this long-term focus. But what I loved about what you said just before was you are advertising to yourself each and every day, multiple times a day, the vision that you desire for yourself. And ladies and gentlemen, this world will take you on a ride if you let it. I don't even watch the news anymore. And a lot of people Mark yells at me about it. Friendly, you can't imagine Mark Hunter really yelling at anybody, but he's such a sweet and gentle guy, but he has a vision. And, I don't do the news at all. And it's just my thing. And I do very similar things to you. I write down my 3 things every day. I write down if they're done in the middle. I write down that they're done. And then I get the 3 things ready for tomorrow, which are already on a weekly thing, which is already on a monthly thing. And those get, changed every day, because sometimes you get more done. Sometimes you get less done. Right.
Yes. But
building a clear vision and a long-term focus becomes super important. And Chris, this goes to your question. If a company says that we are in the business of maintaining and taking market share, then when times get tough, we don't back down from our commitment to advertising. We might have to do it in a slightly different way. We might have to calibrate it. We might have to refocus it. We might have to remessage it. But we're out there. We're out there in front of our customers. One of the most powerful things that you say later in your book, and you use some personal experiences when tragedy hit your family's business, your husband's business specifically. You ended up switching insurance companies largely because one insurance agent who basically he was there. He was handing out water. He was handing out food. He was there with you guys during these floods, and he cared. And he could have very easily said, you know what, I'm already selling half these people the insurance. But this guy was a genuine giver, and you wanted to do business with him at the end of that. And so this idea of this vision of who we are, we're part of the community. We stay engaged. We don't back off. When something happens that shouldn't happen, we're not going to run for the hills. We're going to be right here. And I think that is so underrated and so important. And I love the fact that this gentleman was rewarded with your patronage.
Yeah. I think that, I think that a challenging marketplace is the best time to grow the business. I think there's more opportunity right now than there is in good times. And the reason I think that is because, number one, customers need you now more than they ever needed you. When it gets challenging, they need a partner. They need somebody who's going to show up. The second is your competitors will pull out of the market because they make up excuses. The economy isn't good right now. Things are, everybody's busy. In that instance, with my husband's dental practice, the whole area had gotten flooded out. And they would say, people don't want to see an insurance agent. They're completely flooded out right now. But people remember who shows up. And in the book, I highlight a company called Procter & Gamble. And Procter & Gamble's number one value is listening to customers. And you have to understand, in the face of uncertainty, you're not selling a product or service. Anybody listening to this, you are not selling a product or service. You are solving a problem. Now, you know that from sales training. But what you don't know, and what I really put in the book, is that you don't know what the problem is until you listen to customers. The path to profitability in the face of uncertainty is in the customer complaint. Whatever customers are complaining about, they are telling you, if somebody offered this, we would pay money for it and we would buy it. Look at Uber. Uber was invented not because people said we want an Uber. It was invented because people said, we're tired of taxi cabs. They smell, they're too expensive. We don't trust them. And people just built a company that did that. Procter & Gamble, the product that I highlighted, was Ivory soap. Ivory soap was put on the market in 1800s by Mr. Procter and Mr. Gamble. It was their very first product they put on the market. And before they ever put it out there, they listened to customers. And people said, we'd be willing to buy soap, we'd pay for soap. But there is a problem with soap. When you lather up with soap, it sinks to the bottom of the bathtub. And Procter & Gamble thought, well, what if we shot air into a bar of soap and made a soap that floats? And by the end of the 1800s, they were $1 million company. Now, Ivory soap is white, shaped like a block, and is as boring and unsexy as a product can be. But it was valuable to the customer. So I'm going to tell anybody who's listening to this right now, if you want to grow, just listen to the customers. It's how I came up with this whole idea of writing and researching about uncertainty. All of my customers were talking about it. They are telling you daily how to far exceed your sales quota if you will just listen to them.
That is so good. David Grange, 100%. Thank you for stating this is the best time. Oh, it is. It is, my friend. It so is. Meridith nailed that. Solution selling. And, caring more, asking more questions, listening better, and being comfortable with the silence. Think about Columbo. I mean, I know that's a generational thing.
I remember
create a
Columbo.
little bit of silence and let them fill it in, right? I mean,
they will tell you all day long. Everything
you need to know, they will tell you. They're dying to tell you. No one's asking them the questions. So be one of the ones that ask the questions. One of the things that I loved in your book was about staying flexible with strategy and execution, but rigid in your vision.
Yeah.
I was just like, yes.
I liken it to whitewater rafting. I think where companies and people get messed up is they're committed to how they're going to achieve the vision. You don't have a clue how you're going to achieve the vision, because what happens in first quarter will be very different than what happens in fourth quarter. So you have to be flexible to achieve the vision. And I tell a story about whitewater rafting because most of us have been whitewater rafting. And anytime you get into a whitewater raft boat, the guide will tell you two things. I'm going to point out the obstacles to you, but I do not want you to focus on the obstacles, because if you focus on the obstacles, your raft is going to be pulled into a rock and you're going to be stuck on that obstacle. So as soon as I make you aware of the obstacle, I'm going to move your eyes to the calm water where the raft needs to go. You will have no idea how the raft winds up in the calm water, but I promise you, if you focus your eyes there, it will wind up in the calm water. Well, business, sales, it all works exactly the same way. I know the nut I've got to hit this year. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to get there. I mean, I've got a whole behavioral strategy of what I'm going to do, but I'm testing that strategy. I'm looking at my results on a quarterly basis, figuring out what worked, what didn't work, what do I need to change? And I'm open to adjusting the strategy. I know I'm going to achieve that goal. I feel that in my bones, but I'm very open to how I'm going to get there. And in a marketplace where you control very little, and we control very little in today's marketplace, very little, you cannot be rigid, because if you are rigid, you will get stuck. You have to be agile, but rigid about the vision.
I love that. It's so good. You know, agility is a competitive advantage. That's straight out of your book. I had to write it down when I saw it. I said, that's so good. It's so good. And, you know, the big don't eat the small, the fast
Yes.
are the
Oh,
ones that get to the food first.
but that's why you have to condition yourself for change, right? That's what you
Yeah.
have to think about. How is this market? Time is your greatest resource. It's a huge advantage. And if I think about the fact that, gosh, what if what if what if a new competitor is going to come into the market? I'll give you a great example. I was a banker before I got into this business, and one of my favorite things to do was to talk about what banks were going to merge and who was going to acquire whom. And my boss always thought, I would say, why are you always talking about that? Because I said, those are the customers that are going to be the most vulnerable. And if I can figure out when a First Union and Wachovia are going to merge, which I just dated myself, then I can start calling on those customers 6 months ahead of anybody else who's going to pounce on them when the merger happens, because mergers are always a disaster for customers. So I always want to be thinking one step ahead. When I had to do a lot of wealth management, I'd be thinking about companies that were going to go out of business, or people that were getting close to retirement there, that their entire 401k was in the business. The sooner that I could get to them, the better shot I had of moving that business. So being very forward thinking, and again, not being so married to, I did it this way in 1992, so I have to continue to do it this way. Be very, very open to doing it differently, but still be married to where you're going.
Yeah. Adaptation, agility are not just for athletes. They're for business
Yeah, we
owners,
got to be
they're for
nimble.
salespeople, they're for human beings. You know, one of the things that you said very early in the book, and then it really, the light bulb went off towards the end of the book. This isn't a book just for business owners. It's not just a
Yeah.
book for business leaders. This is a book for every human being. It's so important. And one of the things that I loved in your book that I've encouraged people to do for years and years is this concept of getting creative with collaboration.
Yes.
You did such a great job with that, Meredith. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I love this idea that in the face of uncertainty, competition becomes collaboration. And far too often in organizations where I work, or I'm doing a training, a sales training or something, I see that the internal competition is so strong. And I think, gosh, you're so busy trying to defeat each other, you don't even need external competition. And the idea behind competition becomes collaboration is that time and resources and the ability to move quickly is everything in the face of uncertainty. And it's not that you can't solve your own problems, you can solve your own problems. But what if somebody else has already started the process of solving those problems? What if somebody else has some answers that leverage? So I always say to my clients, when you are faced with a problem or a challenge, do not ask yourself, what do you need to be doing to solve it? Ask yourself, who do I need to be working with? Who has already gained information that I could benefit from that could help me solve that problem far more quickly?
Yeah, so good. You may not know this, Meredith, but I live in Cleveland, Ohio.
Uh-huh.
So when you said Pierce Brothers in 1817 updated the cotton gin, then they moved to Kentucky, and what their business evolved to today, where it started off and how it changed, it really was like, wow, that is that is adaptation. That
Yeah.
is agility. That is thinking outside the box. That is, collaboration. And, you're talking about a business that has 250 employees today that had some of the ancestors been a little more rigid, a little less agile, they wouldn't be in existence, Meredith.
Yeah, they would not be in existence. And that's really that's really, I think some of the most fascinating part of the research is that when you looked at the businesses, that's a great example of a company that if you would have told me they would still be standing here today, I would not think that they will. But it comes down to a leader having a vision, a leader being willing to be agile. I mean, I don't know exactly what their vision was at the beginning. I wasn't sitting around that table listening to that, but they knew they wanted to have a business and they knew they wanted to be successful and they were open to it shifting and changing.
Yeah, they sure were. They took advantage of situations and in a good and positive way.
Yes.
And
Pete, I just got to jump in there because what you said was just brilliant. Is that is kind of the premise of the book. Take advantage of the situations. When stuff shows up, even stuff you don't like, there still is opportunity in the middle of that. And you think to yourself, how could I leverage this? If I could find one little grain in here that I could use. And it is taking advantage of situations. Something just shifted. I mean, Brooks Brothers took advantage of the Civil War. That's how they made it through the Civil War. They took advantage of a shift. They didn't start it. I'm sure they didn't want the Civil War to be happening, but they found opportunity in the middle of that mess.
And that is one of the things that you say continuously throughout the book. Focus on opportunity, not threats.
Right.
Because your creativity is, like you said before, it's the very first thing that shuts down. And when you open it up, that there's an opportunity, then everything opens up and then you get creative. I mean, we got pretty good at Zoom, didn't we?
Yes, we did. We got good at Zoom. We got good at building connection and relationship without ever interacting with people. I mean, so much shifted because we were forced into it. We also saw companies that manufacture products and services start making soap, start making masks. They did whatever they needed to do, and they did it so quickly, right? I mean, and I'm going to tell you, one company that did it first then turned around and helped other companies do it. It became such a collaborative effort. We saw grocery stores that typically competed with each other, helping one another keep enough bread in the store so that, so that things could stay open. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and 2 years ago this September, we got hit by Hurricane Helene, which kind of wiped the area out. It was a terrible, terrible disaster. And our local grocery store that pretty much all of us go to here called Ingles, their whole warehouse got wiped out, all their trucks and everything. They're quite a big operation. But Publix really worked with them. Publix grocery store really worked with them to help them keep their stores stocked, because Publix isn't in every community in Western North Carolina, and Ingles is. So they worked really closely together just to help people get food. And guess what? Most of those stores are booming today because that's the way it works.
Yeah. There are times in our lives, like every day, where we would do better if we put our ego on the back burner and let the ideas open up. Does our
Yes.
enemy have to be our enemy? I don't think so. I really don't. I have seen stores very close to each other, a lot of overlap, Meredith, and they still find ways to help each other and be friendly competitors. And when things shift and happen badly, they will be able to lean on each other. I've heard of store owners who literally lent other store owners their trucks.
Yes.
Because their trucks got wiped out by a storm. And so these things happen, but they don't happen the right way on accident. And this goes back to what Meredith says early in her book: condition yourself for change and be flexible but have your mind open to opportunity. And, if you just do this one thing, and that is strengthen your customer relationships. If everything that drives you is how do we help our customer, then this world of all these competitors who can become your friends suddenly do become your friends because you care more about servicing your customer than you do about beating a competitor.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that I've learned from the book is the fact that sales professionals should have two roles. And we've always thought of them as the people that just go out and sell the product or service, right? But the biggest value I think they bring to us is listening to the customer. They're the ear to the ground. And it's the one thing that we have lost in today's marketplace. When I was growing up, my father owned a business in our downtown, and he was one of two competitors. And my father went to the club and played golf. We went to the, local restaurants. We saw his customers constantly, and he was always talking to his customers. The world doesn't work that way anymore. And you need your ear to the ground because, again, customers will tell you the path to profitability. So in my organization, I have my sales professional, and she and I both spend a lot of time in our pipeline. We'll talk about what's the customer saying? What are they talking about? What are they complaining about? How can we adjust our product or service to better fit what's most important or most urgent to them? So I always tell the sales groups that I work with in sales training, definitely your sales team needs to have a quota, have them focus on that, but also put high value on them bringing information back to you, because they are what are going to keep you close to the customer. And if you're close to the customer, you're going to win in today's marketplace.
And that is 90% of securing your base.
Exactly. Right. Talk to customers, go out and ask customers 10 questions, and you will gain the insight you need to reposition your product so it serves the right need.
Boy, you said a mouthful there. We could spend the rest of our time on that, but I might finish half my questions here. I loved your chapter on building your network.
Yeah.
I thought, we say the words, but we don't really understand how important it is. And you're going to need it when you think you're going to need it at a time that it's too late. It's like you needed to start before. You can't tap into a network of resources that you haven't built.
Absolutely. So I'm a big believer, build your network and it will change your life. I think at any moment in time, we are one connection away from somebody who can literally, positively change our lives, help us achieve a goal, solve any problem. And all we have to do is connect with them. Now, anybody who's listening to this show who is, 55 plus, you get it. You understand networking. But networking is a dying art. And it is a dying art at a time when it is becoming more and more valuable. I'll give you a quick story. Years ago, I was playing in a golf tournament here in Asheville, North Carolina. I love to play golf. I'd rather play golf than do almost anything. And I was in that golf tournament with three of my girlfriends. One called in sick. She had a sick kiddo and couldn't play. We were down to a team of three. I get to the event. The executive director said, there's been a young man enter the tournament. He doesn't have a team. Could he play with you? I said, we'd love to have him. I take him to the tee box to, practice few practice shots. He can hit a golf ball 300 yards. He is a ringer, and I desperately need a ringer on my team. We go to the first tee. I start doing what I do. I find out, ask him questions. I find out he's 27 years old. First job, second job out of college, been hired by a manufacturing firm to open up Western North Carolina. They've never sold a single thing in Western North Carolina. And I think this kid's hit the mother lode, because between my two girlfriends and I, there's not a door we can't open in Western North Carolina. There's nobody we can't introduce him to. But by the ninth hole, this kid has asked me no questions. He doesn't know what I do for a living. He doesn't know where I'm from. He doesn't know who I know. Now, we ended up winning the golf tournament, coming in third, but he left that tournament never understanding that he was not there to play golf. He was there to build relationships. And I don't care what tech you put in. I don't care how good your lead system's in. I don't care any of that. What is going to build your sales organization is having a team full of people who understand how to build, create, and leverage relationships. And it is a lost skill that needs to be taught.
Mm.
There I am in the sand trap where I spend most of my time. I probably made my husband video that 3 times before I got out of there.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
That is such a great example. Steve Hauk asks or says, no, he's going to ask. Okay, good afternoon. I'm glad to hear that you discuss focusing on opportunity. One of the greatest difficulties in business is recognizing when it's an opportunity versus viewing it as a threat. For instance, in our industry, some have thrived by bringing in D2C brands, while others dig in their heels to do business the way it's always been. What would you say to the heel draggers? Well, I'm going to let Meridith answer that first, but then I'm going to come in. If she doesn't say it, I will, and it may not be as polite as how she says it. But thank you, Steve, for the question. It's a great question.
Thank you, Steve. You might as well say it because I'm not going to say anything that isn't polite. But what I would say is what I would realize is that the heel draggers are functioning right now from a place of fear. It may not be coming out like fear, but stagnation is fear. It is refusing to what I like to call what I learned from the U.S. military called embrace the suck. And the suck is the fact that the industry needs to change. So I would run those heel draggers through what I call a skeptic tool, and it goes under condition your team for change. And it's nothing more than a set of words. How is society changing? How are we changing our competition? How are we changing economically, politically, with technology, industry, and customers? Society, competition, economics, politics, technology, industry, customers. And I would get the heel draggers talking and saying, how's our competition changing? How is technology changing? What's happening politically? How is our industry changing? And then ask ourselves the question, what if any of those changes do we need to be paying attention to? Because I got heel draggers with AI all over the place. People are like, I don't like that stuff. It scares me. We're not going to do it. But when I run them through the skeptic tool, what they're able to see is that if they don't change, they're going to be so far behind, they cannot catch up. So I don't like to tell people they need to change. I like to engage them in the process so they can have the light bulb moment for themselves.
Well, Steve, you just got some great advice there from Meredith. I couldn't have said it better myself. If you can bring them to a place where they see it, the reality is that is the only way any change is ever going to happen. They have to have that light bulb moment, as Meredith so succinctly points out. It's incredible that some people have not seen this shift, but one of the things that you could simply say is, what's changed in the last 20 years in your business, Mr. and Mrs. Retailer, and just listen. And then if they don't say anything about D2C brands, you can put it in there, like XYZ company has, ABC company has D2C brands, and what they're finding is that they're able to be more efficient with their advertising dollars. They're actually getting more traffic, and if they have the right D2C brands, they'll actually get a better quality of customer into their store. So, but they have to get there themselves, and yeah. Meredith just couldn't be more spot on.
That skeptic tool would help them get there. I use it as a sales tool with customers all the time. I'll say, I'm your partner in all of this uncertainty. Let's talk about how your customers are changing. How's your competition changing? What can I do to help you be more successful around that? And it guides them to do things they don't want to do. It's also, I adapted the tool for personal use. It's a great one with your aging parents, because I had to walk it through both my in-laws as well as my mother when we eventually had to take the keys and move them out of the house. But it's a difficult, there's a lot of change that we have to make that we don't want to make. But if we can help people realize that if they don't make the shift, they're going to be left behind, they'll come to it far more engaged than rather feeling it's forced on them. They take some ownership in having to change.
Great stuff. We would not be doing our audience justice if we didn't talk about building a culture that can withstand change.
Yeah. Yep. And that is, I said that there's so little that you can control in today's marketplace, so little. But what you can control is the quality of the people that you surround yourself with. And people always look at me and say, oh my God, I'm just trying to find people who are breathing, who will actually show up to work. What are you telling me? I got to be picky about who I surround myself with. But I do a whole chapter on how you need to attract, retain, and engage talent in today's marketplace. And in uncertainty, it is different than how you engage and attract and retain talent in a certain marketplace. You've got to understand today's not only generation, my generation as well, but what engages people in an uncertain marketplace. But you should be incredibly selective. We've got another chapter that really delves into values, the importance of values and making every decision according to your values. And values play a very big part in attracting top talent. And I always like to use the example of Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A doesn't offer work to shift workers on Sunday. I mean, that's crazy, right? Shift workers have to work on Sunday, but they're committed to their values. They're committed to their vision, and they're committed to only hiring employees that fit their culture. And because of that, they have bar none the lowest turnover rate in the fast food industry, and they have the highest franchisee retention rate in the industry. So there's so much in that chapter. I don't have time to unpack it, but if you're struggling at all with employees, I would definitely dive into that chapter. And do not settle for seconds on the people you surround yourself with. They're so key to surviving in uncertainty.
Brad Carroll says, you hit the nail on the head, Meridith. Building relationships is not only most important, but most rewarding in our line of business. By the way, I remember Ivory Soap from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh yeah, it's a really, really boring, sexy, boring product that really took Procter & Gamble to the next level.
Thanks, Brad. Glad you're here. Meridith, here's my one trick question I have, and it's not a trick question at all. Is there a question that I should have asked you in the past hour that I didn't?
Well, no, you've been a fabulous host, but I'll give you a question. People say to me all the time, there's so much information in that book and so much to think about. What is the one thing that people should focus on? If they were going to take one thing from this podcast, one thing from reading the book, what would that be and why? And the one thing they need to take, and the one thing that would be and why, would be the fact that they need to shift how they think, feel, and act towards uncertainty. If you can just work on embracing the fact that uncertainty would lead to opportunity, if you could just, when the obstacle is in front of you, think, this is happening for me, not to me, it is going to radically shift where and how you think about uncertainty. And if you shift how you think about uncertainty, you will act differently in uncertainty, and you will get very different results.
That is great. One last question.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like execute with discipline is like either you have discipline or you don't. That's my overly simplistic thinking. You actually have some recommendations for people on how to execute with discipline.
Yeah, I was not a disciplined person. I was the girl who couldn't make it to an 11 o'clock class in college, and I barely made it through. I really made it through anything. So discipline can definitely be learned, and it is, it's definitely an acquired skill. But you have to want to be disciplined. So we're back to this whole idea: is what is your purpose? If you don't have a vision, the discipline changed for me when I started to formulate the type of life that I wanted, and I noticed that my actions were not helping me achieve that life. So number one is get that vision. Number two is take tiny steps. small, we build confidence from progress, not necessarily from results, from moving forward in those arenas. So I think that we lack discipline because we're not motivated, and we're not motivated because we can't see the end game. So to find the end game, take baby steps and you'll get there.
You know, you just said that so fast, like, no, it's just super easy, but I just have to unpack that just a little bit. Anthony Klatt, thank you. Impressive session, Pete Primeau. It's amazing when you have great guests, how it affects the show. We'll buy Meredith's book today.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony. Anthony, you will not be disappointed. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Have 2 pens, different colors, different color highlighters. You're going to run out of ink. And have a separate notebook blank next to you, because it's going to generate an awful lot of thoughts and brain power stuff that's happening. Just want to unpack this because you said something very casually that I think undermines so many people. And you gave us the absolute prescription for it. And here's the thing. I don't make it to class, to save my life. I don't make it to class. Now, I know I need to make it to class because this is what I want my life to look like. And this is the kind of life that I want. And unless we get that up high enough, but then we go, look at that difference in this idea of just put one foot in front of the other. Just take a baby step. One of the principles of Christianity is if you take a step towards me, God says, I'll take a step towards you, and probably a bigger, more significant step towards you than you could ever imagine. But you have to initiate. You have to come towards me. And so this idea of taking tiny steps, I think it's a huge idea.
I agree.
It's incredibly huge because no matter where I'm at, I can say I can take a little step. I can take a little step, but I can't take this big, like, broad jump thing. That's not going to happen right now.
No, it's demotivating, right? Like, because if you're supposed to take a huge step, you don't. Like, if I put a goal out there that I need to lose 100 pounds in a month, it's not going to happen. And then I'm demotivated and go, forget it. I'm just going to eat cake and M&Ms. But if I say, you know what, I'm going to try to lose a pound this month, and I'm going to try to walk 1 mile more than I walked the month before, I make that. And that motivation comes from the progress.
So good. So good. Meredith, I could go on for a couple more hours, but the show is now officially over. Anybody that wants to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you, Meredith?
I am a big believer. Build your network, change your life. If you connect with me, I will connect with you. You can find me at my website, valuespeaker.com, just the words valuespeaker.com, or meredithelliottpowell.com. All goes together. And connect with me on LinkedIn, probably the social media channel where I live more than anywhere. But again, reach out. I will connect with you.
Thank you, Meredith. What a great session, great value for all our listeners. And I think we'll look back on this one fondly. Thank you, Mark Hunter, for introducing Meredith and I. Meredith and I have kind of known each other and commented on each other's stuff here and there, but we didn't really kind of ever get introduced. So thank you, Mark Hunter. You made this great show happen for both of us, and appreciate you, Mark, more than you know. And everybody, go out there and have fun and sell 1 million. Take care, everybody.